I bought red flowers today because it's Chinese New Year. Now, I'm not Asian, but I love the amalgamation of celebrating a culture, which is something that we each have. As humans, we all belong to the human race. The human race is one. Now, culture is what divides each and every one of us because culture is a combination of your religious preferences, the music that you listen to, the language that you speak, the food that you eat, and the things that are a combination of their environment. So whether you are British, whether you are French, whether you're Puerto Rican like I am, whether you are Asian, whether you are African, culture is the defining factor that makes you different. It's not being human. And every year when Chinese New Year comes, I always buy red flowers and I always have some kind of dumplings or something like this. I do the same thing when it's a pagan holiday. I do the same thing when it's a Puerto Rican holiday. I do the same thing when it's a Swedish holiday because my husband is Swedish and I live in Sweden. I do the same thing when it's an American holiday because my mother is Puerto Rican and I was born in New York and raised in Puerto Rico. So there are so many cultures that are bred within me that I have had the privilege to be able to celebrate. Last week, we had the Super Bowl. And you know who was heading Super Bowl? That's right, El Boricua. That's right, Puerto Rico. It was Bad Bunny. I was so freaking orgulloso from this moment, recognizing that globally, he is such a sensation. And what he represented and what he shared globally are the things that we experience as human beings from one degree to the other. I digress. The reason why I always do my best to celebrate different holidays is that it reminds me, and I hope that it reminds you when you do the same, if you haven't done it before, is that it reminds you, yes, that we're human, but also each and every one of us have something cultural that represents who we are and where we come from. Whether you're Italian, there's a food that you eat, whether it's pizza, whether it's pasta, whether it's a good, pasta fajoule. Those things are so good. If it's Puerto Rican, we have alcapurrias, we have coquitos at Christmas time. These are things that are traditional. They're indigenous to my specific cultures. In Sweden, we have these fantastic things that I have every morning for breakfast, which is traditionally very Swedish, and it's Kalles caviar. And I have it with the boiled eggs and I have it on wassa bread. And it's very, very specifically and quintessentially Swedish. And these are the things that align you with your culture and where you come from. And I was thinking about it today when I bought my red flowers, specifically in mind with the Chinese New Year, because the New Year that we celebrate in most westernized cultures, is that of January 1st. In Chinese New Year, we're celebrating it now. Pagan holidays, the first time of the new year is coming up soon. So depending on where you come from, it's the cultural narratives that create the space for you to identify with who you are and where you come from. The bigger the bigger wisdom of that is as a human race, that is just that. We're all humans. And today it reminded me of that when I went to buy those red flowers. Those red flowers reminds me that there's so many other aspects to being human than just what we know. And the whimsy and the witchcraft and the paganism and all of the things that are part of something that we don't know, I find so exciting and so amazing. I'm curious, what whimsy do you celebrate in your life? Do you celebrate other cultural holidays? We celebrate Christmas. We know Christmas is a pagan holiday. but we celebrate it with Santa, pie in the sky, and reindeer, right? Like that's ever going to happen. And somehow that's equally as dismissed as having a pagan holiday. So New Year's, for Chinese New Year's, I find super sexy and really exciting because it also helps me to understand and dive into a different culture that I'm very unfamiliar with. And it makes me curious. What about you? When you celebrate other holidays, other cultures, other things that are different from you, does it open you up to have compassion? Does it open you up to be curious? Does it open you up to have a different perspective about another person's life experience? Because the main reason why I do this and celebrate so many other cultural holidays from different countries is because it reminds me to always be open, to have compassion, to look at things from a different perspective. And something as little as going out and buying red flowers today and having other things around the house to kind of cultivate and curate the magic of the Chinese New Year because it's different from what I know. And who the hell does not want a little more whimsy and a little more magic in your life? And if it's not part of your culture, what's wrong with borrowing a little bit from another culture? Because I'm multiracial and because I have experienced so many dimensions and so many friends being from so many different countries, it's something that I have known my whole entire life. And I give respect and I give props to whatever I use, and I honor and say like a little prayer towards that specific group of friends or culture that I'm experiencing, and I am benefiting and just enjoying so much, whether it's the food, whether it's the music, whether it's the friendliness and the kindness of the individual with whom I engage with, or whether it's something as simple as going to the Asian side of town and picking up some dumplings and picking up some red flowers and picking up some little red and gold papers that I have around the house and giving it to the children in my building. These kind of things, to partake in that culture and partake in the food and partake in the whimsy. Is this something that you do, and how do you do it? Write it in the comments below, because, today it reminds me being human is such a privilege. It's such a magical moment in life. And every time I celebrate another culture, it reminds me and amplifies that belief within me. I trust that it amplifies a little bit of curiosity in you. Pussily Puss.